Guys, you know exactly what's going on, or maybe you don't. All right, listen, I'm going to tell you about a play, okay? Now, this is a play that every one of you can do right now. So, I was talking to a friend of mine recently. We're talking about Black Lives and Black Lives Matter, the whole how the world has changed. From just a few years ago, it's about Black Lives Matters movement and everything. Now, it's about the war in Ukraine and food and the post-pandemic world. Is everything is happening so fast. So, we're having a conversation about Black Lives and Black Lives mattering, and we're talking about the financial cost of it. And something that he said, Jason, you never hear them say, Arab lives matter. You never hear them say Chinese lives matter. You're not seeing, rights to say, Jewish lives matters. So why is that? As a person that makes substantially a lot more money than I do, this is one of the people that I go to that I ask questions to that works for a corporate financial institutional body that's a friend of mine. And something that he said was, you got to understand, it's a business. It's all a business because these people are insured. It's because these people are insured, the cops are not going to target them. But if these people aren't insured, they're viewed as the disenfranchised or the misunderstood. That's why the police show up and the cops show up at riot gear, because they're not there to protect. They don't really care if people's lives get lost in the process. I mean, they're there to uphold the law, but they're more there to enforce the law than to uphold the law. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, he laughed and he said, what do you think about the January 6th situation? I'm like, what are you talking about, January 6th? I'm like, the insurrection? He's like, what insurrection? That was just us doing what we do. We just get drunk and we fuck shit up. Pardon my French, and I laughed. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, listen, man, this is what we do. We get upset, we loot, we riot just the same. It's no different. And I said, that's right, because we the people have more power than the people we elect to put in power. And if we the people who elect the people in power believe that the people in power are not making the decisions that are effectively best for us, it's our duty to then erect and form a new form of government. So I'm like, that's what I'll say to him. I'm like, right, that was about the perfect time to do something like that. And he said to me, yeah, you're right, but not everybody understood what was happening. Because again, that was just stuff I was fucking shit up. That was just being us. That was his saying. And I just kind of stopped for a second. I'm like, He said, and I said to him, like, and I noticed none of the cops showed up. I mean, it took the cops so long to show up to that entire scene. He said, exactly. Because they weren't there to shoot people. They weren't there to beat people up. They weren't there to enforce the law. They were trying to uphold the law. I'm like, wow. He said, yeah, you see, when it turned out to your neighborhoods or black neighborhoods, that black neighborhoods are predominantly underinsured or uninsured, or they'd have no insurance coverage, then they enforce the law. And that's why you have those bad apples in the bunch. But in the white neighborhoods, like he says, in my community, no offense, none taken, they're there to uphold the law. So they serve and protect. They don't push the boundaries. They more observe before they make an assessment and then do an investigation. In the other instances, in the African American community, they approach it as if the person's doing an investigation. Then they do an assessment before they determine what to do. But the initial process is approach it or treat them like they're under investigation, like you're doing something wrong. Like that's the initial treatment, because it's there to enforce the law. And I laughed about it. I'm like, there's so many videos online about black people having to stand their ground and or show up the cop who's trying to violate their rights. He said, well, the people don't know because they're underinsured that these are their laws and their rights, and they don't take advantage of them. The cops are not going to think that these people actually know the laws to uphold and to protect themselves either. And I'm like, you're right. That actually became a burning thing for me. So my burning thing right now for the rest of 2023 is to really educate as many black families as possible on what to do next, the play that's happening, what is the best play to take place right now. Because with the way the currency is changing right now with the world, the way the financial market is changing, the war, and how the US dollar is not going to be digitalized, and Fed now is going to have full control over your entire economic structure. The only way, the best and the safest way for you to protect yourself right now, ladies and gentlemen, is via a trust. Okay? So listen to me carefully. The trust is not set up by itself. You need somebody who's a licensed professional with the skills and the experience to do this, not just because they have gray hairs like me. So I'm not going to tell you that I'm the best person for it. I'm not selling you my service for it. I represent carriers, agencies, and companies who offer these services absolutely free. But I want you to understand, and I'm talking about carriers like AIG, SILAC, Mutual of many different carriers as it relates to insurance carriers that are reputable, that's been in the industry for hundreds of years. So I want you to understand it's the information. The Bible says our people perish for a lack of knowledge. So the knowledge I want you to understand that you need to have is the knowledge of the financial empowerment that's at our fingertips as an African American community. And what that is life insurance. The number one loophole in the tax code is life insurance. If you are insured in your life, it guarantees that if you do die early, your family does not have to suffer the financial burden as well as the emotional burden. We are already dealing with enough trauma as a people. Why not make the decision to stop that financial trauma? Make decision today. Today, after watching this video, today, I'm going to make sure that my family will never have to endure that financial trauma. That God forbid something happens to me, every one of my kids will be a millionaire. So if I got to work extra to pay for that extra vacation or work extra to pay for them extra Jordans, I'm going to work extra to put extra money away in my life insurance policy. Because just like it's important to me to go splurge on a vacation, just like it's important to me to look good on the weekends and Labor Day weekend in my Jordans, it's good to make sure that I make sure my kids are millionaires if I die early. That's the kind of empowerment we need to have. It's called the Rockefeller play, guys. What did Rockefeller do? Jay-Z said, please don't die over the neighborhoods that your mama renting. Use your drug money to buy the neighborhood. That's how you rinse it. So, let me bring it back to the beginning. Rockefeller play is the blueprint for winning right now for African American families in America. Okay? What do I mean by that? You start a life insurance policy for each one of your family members. Each one of your family members have a life insurance policy for $1 million. So better yet, I tell you what Rockefeller did. Rockefeller got $1 million worth of life insurance policy for each one of his family members. He did not make himself or themselves the beneficiary. He then started a trust and made the trust the beneficiary of that life insurance policy. Once the trust is the beneficiary, he made himself trustee of the life insurance policy, that trust. Now, in doing so, his family and all of his family members all got insurance policies. So everyone from the youngest child, so every new child that's born in the Rockefeller bloodline is birthed and they're automatically given a $1 million life insurance policy. That money is automatically put into the trust that is set up for them. Once that money is put into the trust, the family can then borrow against that money in the trust at any time. They do not have to qualify for their own money. Why? Because it's the money that is designed for the family in the family trust. So now you talk about buying properties, acquiring assets. You talk about acquiring new assets to then create lifetime income. This is how the Rockefellers were able to completely change their financial legacy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in this community, I want you to understand one key thing. I got 30 seconds to tell you one thing here because I have to go. It's important, if Black Lives Matters, that Black lives are insured. Because if Black lives are not insured, we cannot tell people that Black Lives Matters. Because the more Black lives that get insured, is the less Black lives to be slaughtered or killed innocently in the streets. That's my time. I gotta go. Jason Money Miller, Roy Llewellyn. Check that spelling. I'm out. Talk to you later.
Grace, what are you reading? Something boring about money?
Actually, Sean, it's quite interesting. I'm learning how parents can save for their children's future by having a trust fund.
Trust funds? Like the fancy thing only rich kids have?
Not exactly. Trust funds are a way for parents to put aside money for their children's future.
But how does that work?
Parents can contribute money into the policy, and part of that money is put in an index, like the stock market. If the index goes up, the cash value grows.
So it's like a savings account that grows with the stock market?
Exactly, and the best part of it is it's tax-free. It's a great way to save for the future.
That sounds pretty cool actually, but why is it important for parents to save for their kids?
Saving for the future shows that parents actually care for our well-being and future. It's not about the money being put into the account rather than the financial foundation it produces. You can use this money to build a business, go to college, travel the world, etc.
You're right, Grace. I guess it's really about planning ahead. Never thought of it that way.